um, the lesson, I'll be asking question, and it's also a you for a time for you. Sorry, a time for you to ask questions to me. So vice versa after the lesson. And also, just a quick reminder, sorry, baka di ko na pa ata nabanggit, para sa may mga lakad for Friday. So yes, it's Friday. Async tayo Friday for both 424 and 422. So you could go ahead, schedule plans na. I'll be providing lang activity. I'll be sending it to Ruth regarding those activity. But both classes is asynchronous on Friday. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the lesson. I'll be pulling it out.
In the class. So for this specific class, or for today, we'll be starting off now with our formal discussion for our subject. We'll start our discussion, and of course, we'll have uh, our slide here on the end of your screen. We'll be starting off in our module number one. Basically, we are focusing today for aircraft production. Getting into our next slide, we have the breakdown of the modules or our module and the main topics we will be discussing in this excuse me specific presentation or a specific module. So we'll be starting off with the introduction. I'll have a certain example, specifically an Airbus assembly process on A350, current process of assembling the aircraft. We'll have a few discussion of the current aerospace products, manufacturers, and the current market. Specifically, we'll also be discussing civilian aircraft and a little bit of manufacturing history. Next up, we'll be discussing aircraft certification requirements, type certificates. We'll be focusing that on the end of the slide. And of course, our airline compliance, basically the two major um, government. We'll have EASA for Europe and FAA for the United States. We have our next slide here. Basically, we have the introduction focusing on our um, this introduction was from your module focusing a summary of the current production of aircraft. We'll be focusing with the production, specifically production points in a few main things. Current innovation of the aircraft, how currently our aircraft evolve. As you could see, our technology are evolving rapidly, especially in our generation. The current market, uh, the market is also unstable, especially now we encounter the pandemic, which is very critical with the aviation industry. And of course, one of the most important factors will be the business model or the demand of the certain company or the certain airline. So business model varies from company to company. They have their own goals and they have their own processes on how to achieve their goals. And of course, this airline company will take a toll on us or effect with the current aircraft productions. So, of course, yung mga aircraft na pinoproduce ng ating production companies will be for our airline, or specifically or mostly for the commercial purposes. So we have certain factors we consider upon the production of our aircraft, or specifically the production company. So, for example, we got Boeing and Airbus on our end, and they have a lot of things we need to consider before they proceed on a certain aircraft production, or a certain model to be produced. So I'll be discussing a few major things which tends to be a factor on aircraft production. So take a note on this few things. So number one, number one is regulation. So regulation. So as we have, or as I've mentioned a while ago, we have airline compliance. I think that's on the first slide. There we go. Airline compliance. Um, Airline have to comply with their respective authority, or government, or the governing body that is under uh, their company. So number one is regulation. So for example, we got FAA and EASA internationally for Europe and the US. In our end naman, for our country, Philippines, we have CAAP here, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, if I am not mistaken. And CAAP is our major or main regulating body, especially with our airline and the full aviation industry. With the regulation, it is very important because our governing body, I said, CAAP, or the FAA, especially the FAA kasi we're focusing on production. Wala naman tayong production company in in the country. So, for example, in the US, the production company, which the one who will produce the aircraft, have to comply with the strict rules regarding the process of the production of the aircraft. They should be complying in the correct process standard, since any failure to comply with the process of the regulating body, or yung regulating authority natin, magkakaroon of course ng fines and penalties agad si company, which is not good with the business. And of course, another process na naman to, corrective action will be enforced, another delay for the production company. So, um, considering yung regulation before we produce an aircraft is very important. Plus, not only yung FAA, but if you notice, may mga specific regulatory body pa tayo um, in a certain details of the aviation industry. Example, yung mga airports natin. Airports have their own regulating body, and they have their own guidelines and rules. So, the aircraft production company must also consider yung mga regulating body for our airport. So things like wingspan, we have to consider this to the possible collision and accident doon sa major target natin na market and target area, or of course yung majority airport operating on that area. So that's number one. That's regulation. Number two is yung, of course, yung financial capability. So very important yan, financial. Since building an aircraft isn't cheap, companies must consider yung overall cost ng research Of course, will before we produce an aircraft, it will be or it will undergo a research process, a design process, a testing process before we could finalize and apply it with the regulating body, and before it will be approved for production. And the financial cost must be considered, since every time we encounter a mistake in the design process, the testing process, will be undergoing or will be spending a lot of money undergoing again doing the same process before completing every stage of the design process. So yung financial capability is very important. That's number two. Number three, of course, yung purpose. Ano yung consideration natin on building this specific aircraft? Yung intended purpose ng aircraft. Are we targeting to put it up in the military sector or to the commercial sector? As you could know, Boeing also partners or produce military aircraft, hindi lang with the commercial side. So, number one is yung purpose. Anong purpose natin? Ano yung target natin? Kasama din in the purpose yung ating specific use ng aircraft. So, I know, for example, we pick up commercial. Hindi lang yun doon natatapos with the commercial side. So, ang target ba ng aircraft natin is with the Asia Pacific, right? Or with this certain part of the world where domestic market is improving. So, pang long haul ba yung flight na to or yung aircraft natin, or for short domestic flight lang. So, design ba natin siya for international? And of course, kasama rin dito ano yung mga option included with our aircraft. Kasama yun with the purpose. Kung ano yung option, things like, can the airline convert it to this if things doesn't go well? For example, recently, um, if you have heard the news, a lot of airlines convert their aircraft into cargo. So, the start of the pandemic, not only in our country but on the whole world, a lot of aircraft was converted to cargo operation. And this is one of the flexibility ng mga aircraft na na-convert with the cargo. So, very good thing to with our airline or with the specific airline, since they have the option to convert it immediately for cargo operation. So, yun dun papasok yung mga purpose nung ating aircraft production. Fourth thing, for today's or the current production, we are also considering yung environmental impact nung um, aircraft na ating ipoproduce. So as you could see, the world is changing. So the world is focusing to a much greener option from time to time. And hindi lang to applied with the things we eat or around us, or around the city. It applies everywhere. Hindi lang with the power options, food we eat. It also applies sa ating aircraft production. So specifically, yung ating carbon emission. So aircraft must consider yung environmental impact to produce or to design a plane, to have a proactive approach, to be assertive on designing a plane na magpo-produce ng less carbon emission. It will be an advantage to them, to the market, and to the competition producing an aircraft with less carbon emission. It also includes, of course, yung paggamit ng bagong materials that help environment. designing process to make our aircraft quieter, so less noise pollution. Isa rin yan sa major factors we are considering with the environmental impact. If you have read or if you have read an article with the Concorde is one of the supersonic aircraft we have years back. So one of the things na stop yung operation niya is not only with financial impact doon sa operator but also with the environmental impact, especially with the noise pollution. And lastly, the fifth thing, of course, we need to consider is yung ating safety. So, hindi natin to mapapagkaila. Safety is one of the priority, not only in flight operation, but of course in aircraft production. We have to maintain yung security and safety ng aircraft na mapoproduce natin. We have to consider yung elements. This includes, of course, for example, yung mga bird strike, turbulence, thunderstorm, and of course yung human error. So these things are under safety, hazardous to aircraft, and of course with the passenger um, we had. So we have to build an aircraft na kaya i-withstand yung mga certain scenarios and things like this and these elements. And the last thing I mentioned is yung human error. Of course, we also need an aircraft na um, nag-improve yung technology on wait, I can't have the term on my end. We need an aircraft na kayang mag-provide ng feel safe. I think feel safe factor is the correct term. Hold on. I think feel safe is the correct term. So as I mentioned, yung human error is one of the hazardous elements we need to consider. So if we produce an aircraft who has a fail-safe or something, a technology na in an event na magkaroon ng human error, it can provide or revert to a safe condition na hindi move towards accident or malfunction. So as you could see, marami na tayong inventions recently, technological inventions and advancement pertaining or providing fuel safe factor sa ating aircraft, specifically with the human error. So, yun, I think that's the five factors na kailangan natin i-consider in terms of aircraft production. Continuing our discussion, next up we have, what I have in a slide is a quick a video here. It's a YouTube video from AvGip, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a quick preview, a quick video recording for Airbus A350 final assembly line. The video link is here, and I've provided the time where you could take a look dun sa production process ng A350. It's 1 minute 25 to 11:25. A 10-minute video to provide you a quick preview since ayoko naman discuss tayo ng discuss ng aircraft production without us having a visual representation on our mind with the actual aircraft production. So here is a 10-minute video. You could have it later after our discussion. I'll provide siguro 10 minutes for it since an hour lang naman yung ating discussion. So you could go back here and take a look with the video link. You could also search it. Actually, this is the title provided. You could search it on YouTube also. And you could also access your PowerPoint on our Google Drive in case you have to get it back later the day. So yun. Skipping this slide, we'll be discussing now aircraft production. So aircraft production, it actually starts with the design process. So design process, balancing yung competing demand ng requirement ng aircraft to provide a strong, lightweight, and economical na aircraft to be produced in the market and makasabay doon sa current market demand. So yan yung current market demand natin. So it all starts with the design process before we proceed with the production. With the production, marami na tayong um, advancement through the years. As also you can see, malaki yung growth ng ating aviation industry if hindi lang nagka-pandemic. Through time, malaki yung growth ng air travel and yung ating aviation industry. Sorry for the interruption. So, yun, as we continue, yun nga, we incorporate yung aircraft design basically with the demand on the purpose and yung several factors I've discussed a while ago. From that several factors, we proceed with the design process and of course with the aircraft production. So as I mentioned nga, continuous yung changes ng aircraft production, maintenance, and planning and control, sorry. Continuous yung changes. If you have listened from our last orientation, possibly yung diniscuss ko today, possibly in the next 5, 10 years, iba na yung methods na natin. And in today, nakikita talaga natin yung growth ng technology and yung adaptation ng production together with it. So, in order for us to have a idea with the aircraft production, I'll be presenting a few slides. Ito yung final assembly line or FAL ng Airbus A350. So, guys, specific lang to with Airbus and specific lang with the A350 model. So, baka magtaka kayo, with the Boeing, syempre, iba rin yung production process nila. Sa ibang model, iba rin yung production process nila. Pero I guess with the Airbus, same stations are used. Siguro may mga stations lang na madadagdag. With the other models, may stations na mauuna or mahuhuli. But the process for Airbus is almost the same. So we'll take a look with this final assembly line and the assembly line method. So two new words, the assembly line and the final assembly line. Method. So the final assembly line, you got it. We got the meaning on your end. So it's created to join yung several major structures ng aircraft to build yung complete aircraft. So from the word itself, final, ito yung huling, almost the last process before they release the aircraft out of the production and pass it doon sa company na mag-ooperate ng aircraft. This is the last method. So usually, nandito na yung mga major parts, assembling it from different parts of the world or different country, and then assembling it into a one complete aircraft. So with the Airbus, so we'll take a look on it. With them, so medyo malaki din yung pagbabago nila with with their production process. Before kasi hindi naman ganun kalaki yung aircraft demand and yung air travel 20 years, 30 years ago. And because of the growth on the demand ng aircraft and air travel, of course, nag-a-adapt din si Airbus ng production process para makapag-cope up sila dun sa ating or sa current demand. So before they releases mga bagong factory program in order to ensure yung adaptation nila with the demand and yung competitiveness nila with the production. So before they are using or they started out with the conventional method ng production. Ito yung duct manufacturing. So from the word itself, dock, DOCK, um, self-explanatory. But if you could imagine, example, yung boat or ship na lang. With a large ship, they still use, I think, yung dock manufacturing. Wherein nasa isang specific place lang yung workers and yung production team. So binubuo nila yung aircraft on a single place. So slowly building the aircraft piece by piece in a single place or a single warehouse. So ganun. Sa barko ngayon meron pa rin mga gumagamit ng that manufacturing process. But eventually things have changed nga due to the demand. So before effective yung dock manufacturing with Airbus. But as time changes, demand increases, hindi na siya nagiging efficient in order to produce the number of aircraft they needed dun sa current demand. So Airbus releases programs to improve their production processes. And they, ano na, dito na papasok, they adopt doon sa assembly line process with a final assembly line or FAL. So yung assembly line process, it's a effective process wherein you could apply it to increase yung productivity and efficiency nung production. Ang method na assembly line regularly changing also, nag-change siya. They're producing efficient ways on achieving yung goals sila and yung increase ng demand. With the assembly line, we or isinasaayos yung sequential movement ng product, ng workers, tool, and machinery. Minimize natin yung movement as much as possible. So parang what I mean movement is yung pag uh, pasa ng product in a more efficient way or manners para yung mga workers will perform one single operation and hindi na magre-retraining ng madami. So yung workers have their own team, they have their own specialization, and they have their own simple rotation or job rotation or operation. We'll take a look on it and mas maiintindihan nyo together with the pictures I'll be showing you. So assembly line, um, if you are all familiar or if you have watched yung mga YouTube videos on assembling cars, so parang ganun yung ating assembly line process. So before, as I mentioned nga, dock manufacturing process. So andyan yung aircraft, binubuo nila piece by piece. Ngayon, same with the cars, they are passing it per station. So may station na ang ginagawa lang is putting up the wing. May certain team putting up the wing, specialized in putting the wing. So pasa yung product. And in this way, on this assembly line process, mas efficient siya. Although, of course, dadami yung warehouse natin, dadami yung station, but in producing more numbers and, of course, punching through the demand, mas efficient siya on assembling the aircraft. So yun, we'll take a look with an example of an assembly line. So para magkaroon kayo ng idea how it is processed. And with this assembly line, as I mentioned nga, will be focusing on A350 and with the Airbus. So this will not apply with other production, may kanya-kanyang production process, but most likely, of course, the same lang naman sila. And we'll be discussing specifically in details with the A350 aircraft. Okay, let's take a look with the A350 final assembly line process. So we'll be focusing on the final assembly line process, yun yung last assembly line process where they combine yung mga components coming from a different factories ng Airbus and different warehouse. So of course, with the final assembly line, medyo large component na to since it's the last part of the assembly line process. And with this assembly line, of course, yung per part na tinransfer dito, may sarili-sarili din silang assembly line process. For example, we transferred the wing or the wing of the A350 dun sa final assembly line. Of course, yung pinanggalingan niyang warehouse or production process, may sarili rin yung assembly line specifically on producing that wing. But today we'll be focusing lang with the final assembly line process ng ating A350. So A350, isa siya sa mga current trend ng aircraft today. um, One of the more modern aircraft we have today, with several variants. Um, Very malaking technological advancement ng A350 since ngayon nag-i-in favor na yung mga airlines sa aircraft na dalawa na lang yung engine. Before kasi yung mga large aircraft natin, long haul flights, international flights, we use at least four engines in favor for the aircraft. But today with the A350, much efficient na yung aircraft since we are using two engines na lang for a long range process or a long haul flight. And with the final assembly line of the Airbus and also with the A350 specifically, it's located in Toulouse, France. I think you all know naman that the Airbus main company is located in France. So the final assembly line is also in France. It will consist of several stations. Ito na yung station process we'll be discussing in a minute. Wherein slowly ina-add natin yung components internally and externally to complete yung aircraft process. And also yung A350, isa ito sa mga latest processes ng Airbus. Since with this, as I mentioned kanina, importante na ngayon yung environmental impact. People are changing, the world is changing, we are more concerned with the environment. So also with assembly line, isa to sa greenest production process ng Airbus where they uses natural lighting as much as possible. So they don't use lights as much as possible. If they use a certain type of roof where they get the power, solar powered, and of course using yung natural light natin in order for them to be environmental friendly through the production process. Okay, let's take a look with the process of the final assembly line for A350 so we have a better idea. So the A350 process, final assembly line process starts with the arrival section. The arrival section, dito po yung mga large component natin, as I mentioned, will come from different location and also different companies if may mga third party companies tayo. This will be the first process of our final assembly line. So yung mga parts na to will be transferred to France, to Toulouse, using yung Airbus Beluga. If you ever heard of it, and I think you've seen it, the large cargo aircraft of Airbus. I have the picture here on the screen. So ayan. Um, the first picture we have the Airbus here. Of course, how it process yung it's processing the transfer of the component. I cannot identify what component this is, but it's technically a large one, eating up the space of the whole cargo aircraft. The second picture I've got here is sort of a mapping kung saan nanggagaling yung mga major parts. So You could see different parts of the world, and this contains also different companies where the aircraft all leads doon sa ating final assembly line on France. You could also see here yung ating where I provided here yung location, as you could see. So yun, the first part of the final assembly line process will be yung arrival section. And this is very vital since from here, mag-start na yung scheduling and coordination process ng buong team and ng different station na pagpapasahan ng ating aircraft. And usually, this will take a few months, around 80 days, yung the whole final assembly line process for Airbus. We have our arrival section. Moving forward, after, of course, the important components is transferred to France, and every piece of the aircraft is available for that certain aircraft, and the scheduling was set, coordination is set, it will move down per station. So the sorry, I have another slide here. So here on my next slide, you could see yung parts nung mga parts kung saan siya nanggaling before it is or it lead down sa ating final assembly line. So we got the horizontal tail plane, yung ating pylon, yung ating last part ng fuselage, yung center and your nose part. And you could see yung wing dito, pinagpasahan din siya. So it started from here as a wing after it was transferred to Bremen. Don't know if I pronounce it correctly. Inattach naman yung several parts ng ating wing before it is lead down sa final assembly line. So there we go. So nag two-way process siya. Unlike nung iba, after their assembly line, they brought down directly sa ating final assembly line or file in short, file ng A350 sa Toulouse. Into the next slide, our first station for the A350. So dito ipapasa yung ating mga parts. The first part will be station 59. Dito i-install yung mga modules ng fuselage and or monuments, and of course yung ating different bigger components ng aircraft. So what I mean is yung with the monuments, ito yung mga with that specific aircraft and with the specific airline, ito yung mga large part ng aircraft na ando na permanent. So with the monuments, ito yung mga part ng aircraft na you cannot dismantle. Andun siya as a whole. So ito yung una nating ilalagay with the Station 59. Yun ang kanilang goal. So first goal is yung monuments, specifically monuments, and the second goal is yung outfitting process. So yung monuments, ito includes nito yung mga galley, washroom, and crew compartments. Also yung mga dividers per class ng ating aircraft. Itong mga certain part na to, andun to as a whole and permanently. Kaya inuuna to. So they put up the washroom, yung pinaka compartment as a whole. Then also they will start yung outfitting process. So what outfitting process, dito na papasok yung mga lines na kakailanganin throughout the aircraft operation. Since these lines will be under or within the aircraft structures, kaya ito yung mauna. Yung outfitting process includes, of course, yung ating hydraulics, water system, oxygen system, air conditioning system, wiring system, and some of the insulation ilalagay natin dun sa mga minor parts. So this is Station 59. monuments and outfitting process tayo. You could also see here, um, naka-line up on the first picture, yung mga fuselage there for the outfitting process and monument installation. They did this on Station 59 para mas maging efficient sila on producing numbers on Station 59 and pagpapabilis ng production. So naka-parallel yung aircraft natin to minimize yung production and to improve yung workflow. So mas mabilis yung processes. On the second picture, we have here a quick look of some workers doing the outfitting process on a certain fuselage. And usually it takes 40 workers handling per fuselage, the average. So may kanya-kanyang specialties to ang mga workers. So may team for hydraulics, may team for wiring, may team tayo for the monuments. So yan, Station 59, that is monuments and outfitting. Cabin monuments installation and the outfitting process. So ito yung sinasabi kong mga permanent part where we cannot dismantle yung monuments. This is one of the example of a monument doon sa aircraft. Ito yung mga unang ini-install. As you can see, it is there as a hull. So ayan, meron tayong, I think this is a crew rest compartment, one provided on the top part of the aircraft for long haul flights since kailangan ng rotation with the crew. So yung mga crew na magpapahinga dito sila magstay to take a rest, to take a quick nap for long haul flights. So ito yung isang example ng monuments. It is installed there as a whole. Moving forward, we have our next station, that is Station 50. So with the Station 50, the major thing here they're doing is yung structural fuselage join up. So they will be combining yung three parts ng fuselage, yung aft, yung forward, and yung center. So i-join up na nila yung mga fuselage from Station 59. And before they join up yung ating three parts ng A350, naka-ready na yung outfitting dito. Yung things I've mentioned, hydraulic, water, oxygen, wirings and stuff, electrical, ready na to when they join up. So pag join nito, naka-ready na rin yung joining ng outfitting as a whole aircraft. And dito magta-take shape yung ating aircraft. Makikita nyo siya visibly as an aircraft. Some of them, they call this the marriage process since we combine the three parts of the aircraft, the nose, the mid, and the tail or the aft section. And yung pag-join nito, it's processed by hand and riveted. So they use a lot of rivet in joining up the process. They use, of course, yung aircraft grade na rivet in the process, and it's performed by a professional. So may mga specialists din um, with the riveting process to form it correctly. So let's take a look. So that is Station 50, fuselage join up. So there we have a very big uh, picture here showing two personnel working with the riveting process. So as you could see, they process the riveting here in the of the fuselage join up. You could also see here a different angle. So ayan yung that is aircraft grade na rivet. So not the same with the traditional home rivet you see in hardwares. This is a different one. So we have, so yung team na to, specialized lang sila with the rivet assembly since that maximize yung production time since nga we are adapting with the assembly line process. And next up will be Station 40. So dito na i-attach yung wing to the fuselage or doon sa ating aircraft. I forgot to mention with the station 50, the fuselage joint, kinakabit na din doon yung nose landing gear na A350. So together with the process, kinakabit na nila yung nose landing gear doon sa pag-join up ng tatlong parts ng fuselage so they can tow it to station 40. And dun sa station 40, ang main thing here is yung pagkabit nga ng wing and yung magiging first power on ng ating A350. With the wing, not only of course the main wing of the aircraft, kakabit din dito yung horizontal tailplane and the vertical tailplane. They'll be also attaching yung tail cone dun sa very end ng ating aircraft. And since the tail cone, usually andun yung APU, if I'm not mistaken, since they attach the tail cone together with the APU, auxiliary power unit, they can provide na yung unang power on ng ating aircraft. And finally, the last process doon sa ating station 40 is yung pagkabit ng ating pylons and yung main landing gear. So as I mentioned, meron na tayong nose landing gear for station 50. Moving forward to station 40, nandiyan na yung wing, nandiyan na yung pylon, yung main landing gear, almost 90% finished na yung aircraft. From station 40, dito nyo na makikita yung aircraft na parang buo na siya as a whole aircraft. And also, dito na i-finalize yung floor-to-floor ng outfitting process. Since na-combine na yung wing, yung tail planes, ifa-finalize na yung mga wiring, and also ifa-finalize na yung ating insulation. And take note, with the Station 40, as I mentioned, kinakabit dito yung horizontal and vertical tail plane. With the vertical tail plane and the horizontal tail plane, usually yung ating tail plane, when they attach it, I think I have a picture later, usually pre-painted na yung tail plane. Since with the painting process, nagkakaproblema sila with the height of that specific tail plane. So minsan kinakabit nila ito na painted na. Take a look on it. This part. So ayan, you can see the tail plane here attached. So meron na tayong tail cone attached, may wing attached na here with the A350, and you could see yung tail plane ng A350 to be attached na painted na. Since nga ito yung pinaka highest part ng aircraft and they have problems on painting this part. So they pre-painted this before they attach it to the aircraft. And that's it. For Station 40, 90% finished na ang ating aircraft. Next up is yung Station 30. With the Station 30, with this station, main thing that they'll be doing here is yung ating cabin installation. With the cabin installation, so major focus ng Station 30, medyo versatile tong team na to since ang cabin installation differs from aircraft to aircraft. Since ang airline per order may kanya-kanya silang cabin configuration na kailangan and gusto, may kanya-kanya silang customization depending on their business model. So with the Station 30, iba-iba yung ginagawa nila na cabin installation here. And they have specialists for every task for Station 30. So they have here an airlag center for Airbus. So doon ang gagaling yung mga interior parts, cabin interior parts, also made from different companies or different countries. So with the airlug center, the team will get yung necessary na seats na kailangan nila for the cabin installation. So this is middle picture, yan ang example natin. ng airlog center, they'll be getting yung seats na needed on that certain A350, certain airline, and certain aircraft. And also with this, Station 30 cabin insulation, andito na rin yung cabin check, quality control, and finalize of course nung cable connection. Since some of the seats kailangan din ng electricity, especially now. May mga monitors na yung seats, may mga charging bays, nag-a-adapt na compared to aircraft 10 years ago. So, if-finalize na rin dito yung ating electrical system for the certain cabin. So here we have the technician finalizing the electrical after the cabin insulation at station 30. Station 18. So with the station 30, also sorry, I forgot they also perform here indoor ground tests. So the previous station, first power on, dito nagkakaroon na rin ng ground test, indoor ground test since may power na yung ating aircraft. Next up is station 18. Dito nilalabas yung aircraft to perform naman certain outdoor ground tests. Since may power na tayo from the APU here, the bottom or and the half part of the fuselage, kahit wala tayong engine, we have electrical power. They can perform ground tests na on station 18. On the station 18 also, they process or ready the aircraft transferred to the painting process or the painting station. So station 18, major thing, is yung ating um, outdoor ground test. You could see here na sometimes hindi pre-painted yung tailplane, but on the other hand, picture naman painted siya. So it depends. Depends also, nag-a-adapt din kasi sila with the schedule, with the certain aircraft. And of course, yung demand, siyempre may schedule din silang sinusunod from the airline. There we go. We have station 18. So yan, nilalabas nila for outdoor ground test before transfer to the painting process. So here, of course, self-explanatory, painting. So they coat na yung aircraft with the correct paint, the correct paint for the airline. So kung kaninong airline to mapupunta, sometimes pre-painted na siya ng airline colors. Minsan naman hindi, may separate na painting process yung ibang airline. But still, they will have to paint it here. And the Toulouse factory is equipped um, um, of every painting process required by the customer or the airline. So they have a lot of operator support function on the painting process. So usually it takes around 5 coats of paint per aircraft. And they use electrostatic spray system para distributed evenly yung aircraft or sorry yung paint process sa aircraft. So that is the painting section. And the final, so here I have a picture of the A350 being prepared for the painting process. You could see here how high is yung tail plane, kaya minsan pre-painted na siya. And you could see them preparing with the painting process. And the last station will be station 20. Ang station 20 po is with the engine installation and of course yung finishing na ng ating cockpit. So medyo big work to, yung paglagay ng engine on both sides of the wing. They'll also have minor adjustments here, check ng cabin again, quality control. Since this is the last station, they also will have quality control here, checking damages and scratch doon sa aircraft. So, yung customer, yung airline, of course, they paid billions of dollars for the aircraft or for the contract. So, it's very important na for the Airbus or for the production company to present the aircraft perfect as much as possible perfect with the airline. So quality control check and finishing off the cockpit. With the specific model A350, it is manufactured by Rolls-Royce with the engine. And here we go. We have station 20, the last station for the aircraft. So we have a picture here of a power plant team installing yung engine with the A350. And there we go. We have a quick preview of the A350 assembly line, final assembly line process. So next up, we'll have our aerospace products, manufacturers, and markets. So with this, pretty self-explanatory naman. You could, if you have read already yung modules, you could understand easily naman with this specific topic. So we'll have a quick preview lang with the products, manufacturers, and markets, and also a quick preview with the history. Um, so we have here on our next slide. Hold on. So I have here a representation of the current market share. So iba siya doon sa module. If you have look at it, iba yung market share na sinasabi doon. But then again, with the module, I am not sure kung anong date to with the module. So I've researched the current market share with the aviation industry. So I found one from Mordor Intelligence. I have the website link here if you want to take a look with the research. And you could see here, this is from 2021, so uh, right before the pandemic, and they have concluded yung market share. So medyo mas mataas na yung sa commercial aviation, maybe because they're expecting a growth with the commercial aviation compared to the military aviation. They could also hear the small percentage of the general aviation, and this market share is only for the 2021. So things are changing from time to time, especially on this kind of information. But currently, this is the latest I have research. We have the current market share na mataas ang commercial aviation industry. Moving forward, I also have here with the same website a current growth rate ng aviation market natin from 2022 to 2027. This is 5 years projection of the market. So you could see here na highlighted yung mga country or parts of the world having low, medium, and high. You could see here napakalaki ng potential with the domestic growth of the Asia Pacific. You could see here dark blue siya. So ibig sabihin mataas ang growth rate sa area natin. Maybe with certain reasons, since maraming domestic capabilities, people are leaning towards air travel and also vacation spot kasi itong Asia Pacific from the West, from the Europe, of course Boracay, Indonesia. These are vacation spot. So probably one of the reason also. That's why malaki yung expected share on this market. Another one I have here from Statistica is the current leading manufacturers, and suppliers in 2019. Sorry for the interruption. So I have here a current revenue. This is by revenue, based on revenue per manufacturers. You could see here on top of the system is still Airbus and Boeing, but currently for 2019, Airbus is the leading company based on revenue as a production company, manufacturer, or suppliers, followed by Boeing and Lockheed Martin. So this company, I think they're specialized for military um, market. So since malaki yung military aviation market natin, as you could see, second siya from the commercial aviation, malaki din ang market niya or these companies or some of the companies which is focused sa military supply. So there we go. We got, of course, basically we have, as I've discussed, we have the civilian aircraft, um, manned. We got the general aviation aircraft. So ito yung, of course, Gen Av, as you can see, the light aircraft, training aircraft, mga 4 to 6 seater natin na aircraft. And next up is yung commercial heavy aircraft. So dito na papasok yung mga airline companies natin. Also, another big part is yung military aviation. As I've said, also some of the commercial production company, Airbus and Boeing, are also leaning towards military aircraft production. Of course, we also have demands on helicopters or rotary wing aircraft. As you could see, I guess we have certain companies here specialized on helicopters, since we also have demand on helicopters. Another one is yung UAV or yung unmanned aerial vehicle. And from today's aviation, technically medyo tumataas yung demand ng UAV with the drones. And I'm not pertaining with the drones that you buy from the malls. I'm pertaining with the drones used for agriculture, major site surveillance, construction. So maraming industry ang gumagamit na ng mga UAV in order for them or for their business. So construction, agriculture, and also military, big part ng UAV industry ang ating military side. And there we go. We have on a module a short history of manufacturing. If you could take a look. Self-explanatory naman with this. And for that, I think I've already consumed an hour discussion. Siguro we'll stop from here. History of manufacturing. We'll be continuing next week for the airline compliance naman, focusing on EASA and FAA. So yun, I hope you have some information na capture, especially doon sa assembly line process or sa production process ng Airbus. Nagkaroon tayo ng quick visualization kung paano nagaganap yung process. So that concludes our discussion for today. We'll probably have, and also um, take a look dun sa video kanina. I have YouTube video. You could have a quick look there, 10-minute video. I think that's on the first slide of the presentation. Andun yung link, andun din yung title for you to have a video representation naman of the A350 process.
So that concludes our presentation for production, our lesson starting module 1. Any questions so far with the first slide that we have until the history of manufacturing? Anyone who has a question, go ahead. You could proceed.
Sir, wala naman po. Pero sa module po, may nakita lang po ako.
Okay, go ahead, Rafael. Sure, go ahead.
Ask ko lang po ba't po may mga skip sa learning module numbers po?
Sorry, Rafael. What do you mean skip?
Yun nandito po kasi learning module 1, 2, 5, and 6 lang po.
Yes, Rafael. I think hindi ko pa nasabi. I'm still processing dun sa midterm. So, inedit kasi ng team, ng faculty. So, I'll be uploading it immediately Of course, before midterm ready na yun, I'll be updating you as soon as possible. Yes, kulang yung module.
Sige po. Thank you po.
Okay, and if wala nang question, so ako na lang magtatanong, just a few question to see if you have some takeaways for today's lesson. So with the Airbus A350 specifically production process, what is under doon sa outfitting process na sinabi? So we have their outfitting process together with the cabin monument installation. So ano yung nasa outfitting process? Anyone could answer? Go ahead.
Sir, pwede po mag-try.
Sure. Arvin, go ahead.
Included po ba sa sa Station 59 yung cabin monuments and outfitting, kung saan yung outfitting po ay dun po nilalagay yung mga linya ng hydraulics, water, electrical, oxygen, and other lines and wirings po.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Arvin, correct?
Yes po, sir.
Arvin. So Arvin is correct. So tama, kasama dun sa Station 59 since it's the first process, yung mga lines natin, una yung kinakabit before we actually construct yung aircraft. So that will be under the structures. And as Arvin said, it includes wiring, hydraulics, air conditioning, even airlines, andon yun. Pneumatic airlines, andon lahat sa outfitting process sa Station 59. Correct? Thank you, Arvin. Um, I'll exempt you sa prelim recitation. So, sa day ng prelim recitation natin, so FICAT ka na, 100 ka na, Arvin. Another question.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you. Welcome, Arvin. Another question. With the first step of aircraft designing and aircraft production, ano yung mga kino-consider nating factors? We have 5 factors. Anyone?
Sir,
Sir,
butcher po.
Okay, Bachar, go ahead.
Yung limang factor po na kino-consider natin is yung una po is regulation, airline compliance respective to authority, sir. Tapos yung pangalawa po, yung financial capability. Dapat po kasi mag-undergo po muna ng research bago po mag-build or mag-design ng aircraft. Eh, syempre po iniisip po yung cost ng aircraft. Third po yung purpose, yung what will be the purpose of the aircraft na i-build po, kung either commercial, military, or general aviation po. Then yung pang fourth one po is environmental impact. Ano po, dito po is iniisip yung what will be the impact of that aircraft to environment, like yung excessive carbon emission, considering use of new material is pwede rin po kasi uh, makakaapekto siya sa environment. And yung lastly is yung noise pollution. Next po yung pang fifth po yung safety. Safety po ng aircraft ang iniisip. Kino-consider po dito yung bird strike, turbulence, thunder strike, and yung human error po. Tsaka kino-consider din po yung fail safe once na magkaroon ng failure when in flight po.
Okay, perfect. Very well said, Joseph. So Joseph, exempted ka na rin for prelim recitation. That will be before our prelim exam. So we got but Joseph and Arvin. And a few reminders before I cut the class or we end the class. Again, asynchronous tayo for Friday. So we'll not meet. Ang next meeting natin will be in the Wednesday next week, which is another or continuation and topic. However, I'll be assigning activities for you to do on Friday. So first stop is yung 424, yung kaninang subject natin. I'll be sending an activity to root. It's just a 10 multiple choice seat work under Google Form. You could answer it immediately upon your schedule since asynchronous naman. I'll be closing yung Google Form Friday 12 p.m. or before midnight. So Friday, kailangan everybody nakapagsagot na nung Google form. That's for AE424 again, Aerodrome Engineering and Management. That's 10 question. I'll be sending that to Ruth, yung link. And then for our subject today, 422 naman on Friday, asynchronous ulit tayo. Asynchronous din tayo. I'll be or you will need to watch yung documentary about aircraft production. It's available on Netflix and other streaming platforms. So help one another na lang. Yung may mga kopya and may mga link, pass it sa iba niyong classmate. So the documentary will be Downfall, the case against Boeing. That's a new documentary release this year pertaining to MCAS system, failure dun sa production. So kung napanood nyo na, and that's a good thing, no need for you to watch again. But dun sa mga hindi nakapanood, yun yung kailangan nyong gawin for Friday upon your convenient time. Or kung masimulan nyo later tonight, but that's better. It's a 1 hour, 30 minutes documentary. So yun, I'll be sending also kay Ruth ng link if makahanap ako. But then again, I think everybody naman, not everybody, sorry. Everyone have sources to get movies. Iba may Netflix, iba marunong mag-download, and iba have link for streaming. So share na lang in order for us to watch the documentary. So again, to summary, Friday for 424, may activity tayo. I'll send to Ruth 10 questions. For 422, meron need nyo ipanoorin yung documentary that will in conjunction for next week's activity. So that will be about the documentary. So yun lang guys. Thank you and have